There's a video I watched earlier about a girl describing her a night in her life as being 6'5", right? She went from one party to another, and just the amount, and she worded it very well, like very well. There is a point where you just kind of like, it's enough, and everybody tells you, oh, just, ignore it. But how do you ignore it when you walk in a room and everybody starts staring? The group start talking about you. Like, how do you just ignore that, right? Like, I've gotten so well at ignoring it for the most point, but if I get to a point where I actually see it, that is when that is my breaking point. That's when I get irritated. That's when I get upset, because I am human and I just want to walk in a room and not be stared at. Okay? And you know what? Stare at me all you want. I get it. I would stare at me too if I could all the time. And that's not being, like, fine, that's me being cocky though, right? But I do have to admit with her that she made a comment about girls and how catty they are, and how, like, it's a reflection of them and their insecurities, but how they'd rather pick a fight than be your friend, and how frustrating that is. Why is it that because how tall I am, right? I'm 6'4", that women want to become catty instead of being friends, and they let their insecurities get the best of them? But that's like, I know I'm rambling and I really haven't made much of a point, but my point is that she was 100% spot on with how exhausting it is. And it's not something you can just get over, and it takes a lot of coping and skills to be okay with being in a room and have everybody talk about you, everybody stare at you, right? It is another level. And then not only that, there was a comment about her being in an elevator and then be like, oh, my son's 6'7", it'd be perfect for you. Now, she was wearing heels, so she was probably like 6'7" with the heels, and she goes, he was clearly 6'3". And that's another thing, as men always wanting to argue with you because they say they're X height when they're not, right? When they're not. Like, they'll say they're 6'5" when really they're 6'2". And that's a frustrating point. And it's not always that dramatic, but it can be. And how she had to answer, the elevator guy went to ask her questions, and she answered all of them without being asked. At what point do you guys mature and just realize, oh, there's someone different? Leave them alone. Leave them alone. We're adults, right? And that's where she has another valid point of, most of the time it is better with being in a room with 30-year-olds plus, because a lot of the time they're a lot more mature and understand how to handle the situation. But next time you see someone different in a room, whether it be tall, short, special needs, whatever it may be, leave them alone and treat them like you would any other individual. Unless you actually want to have a decent conversation with them, except how tall are you? Or whatever it may be, leave them alone. Also, I do want to circle on one more point that she made about dating and how frustrating it is, because you never know if that person actually likes you or just wants to date you because you're tall. That is it.